President Trump hits pause, holding off on plans to resume bombing Iran was set for today, giving talks more time to hammer out a deal at the request of key Gulf allies. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
Morning to you. Good, quick first hour, I would say, right?
Zoomed right
Halftime, here we go. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home. President Trump directing his military commanders to be ready for action at a moment's notice. This as Gulf states remain on edge amid a shaky ceasefire. Retired Vice Admiral Robert Harward telling us last hour the president has time on his side, however.
Patience may be a little short of the real objective here. The president has time on his hands. He controls the narrative, he controls the strike capabilities, and he knows that the policy he set with the blockade has had short-term and long-term effects on the regime and the people of Iran. So he's been very astute in leveraging that time.
All right, let's get to a new hour. It starts right now live in Dubai, and Jeff Paul is on duty there. And Jeff, hello to you.
Yeah, Bill, and I would say there's definitely an overwhelming sense of relief among the folks who we've spoken to here in the UAE. You know, just a couple days ago, there was a drone attack at a nearby nuclear power plant. And since then, there's just been a growing sense of anxiety amongst folks that the war would once again resume. Well, President Trump seemingly putting those fears to bed, saying that serious negotiations are now taking place. In fact, Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson just said that communication is ongoing between leaders in the region and with, quote, conflict parties to prevent a return to escalation. But President Trump has told his military leaders to be prepared to go forward with a large-scale assault of Iran if attacks resume. Residents in Tehran accuse President Trump of making contradictory statements, but overall want the war to end.
In the first place, I actually don't think war is a good thing. If we can have negotiations in a way that we come out as the winner of the negotiations, I'm 100% in favor of negotiations, because war really has very bad consequences for people and for everyone.
But until some sort of peace agreement is signed, Iran remains in control over the Strait of Hormuz, with nearly all ships still effectively blocked from transiting the strait. Oil prices continue to rise. Supplies of fertilizers are blocked, as well as other critical goods. The United Nations says freedom of navigation must be restored.
We want to make sure that there's no constraint to freedom of navigation on the high seas and on the Strait of Hormuz. And so we don't want any particular entity to restrict that freedom of access.
Now, while there is that sense of relief here in the Gulf, there's also some cautious optimism, because we have sort of been here before where there was talks of a new strike on Iran, then they were held off. So talks and a possible peace deal could be leveraged. So we'll see if this time is different. Only time will tell, Bill.
Jeff, thanks. Jeff Paul, live in Dubai, starting a new hour. Thank you. Dana?
And more on this. Brent Sadler is a Heritage Foundation senior fellow and former U.S. Navy captain. Thank you for being here. I want to read to you from the Institute for the Study of War. Their analysis says that the IRGC-affiliated outlets continue to threaten commercial and digital activity linked to the Strait of Hormuz as part of broader regime efforts to institutionalize Iranian authority over
near term, not to be able to visibly and very demonstratively prove that the Iranians cannot hold the shipping that passes through the Straits of Hormuz at risk or grave risk. And I think military action is becoming increasingly likely, as we know now the president was planning that. And I think that's probably necessary to get to the type of conclusion and negotiations that the United States needs.
There's some analysis today in the New York Times suggesting that Iran was ready for a 3-month war of intense heavy bombing. And also, if the bombing returns, that they're going to get ready to batten down the hatches. Here's what they write. They say, here's how Iran could respond to renewed strikes. In any new round of fighting, Iranian officials could adopt new tactics, including intensified strikes on neighbors and trying to close off a second strait. That would be over there in the Red Sea. What do you think Iran would want to do if the bombing continued? And how could that mess with U.S. planning and strategy?
Well, with or without negotiations, the game plan by this regime has been for a long time to delay and to try to push things off so that they don't have to concede anything and that they can quietly return back to their weapons programs and pick up where they were left off. I think it's not a lack of effort on their part that their proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, and of course Hamas, have not been more active in attacking U.S. interests and our allies than they have. Most notably is the absence of the Houthis in attacking shipping there. So I'm not sure it's because the Iranians have some new weapon or new, support to their proxies that's in store for us. I think that's more bluster. But again, it's been a factor to the regime, has been under a lot of pressure for their energy flows being cut off because of this conflict. So the world is a different place than it was when this started on February 28th. And the Iranian regime would be, I think, seriously miscalculating that they think they could weather this again for that many months, if in fact is true.
Brent, I just want to play for you. This is President Trump yesterday talking a little bit about his meeting with President Xi in China and the future in regards to Iran.
I just left China. And I will say President Xi was very, very complimentary of our military. We're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. So I was called by these three countries, plus others, and they're dealing directly with our people and, right now, Iran. And there seems to be a very good chance that they can work something out. If we can do that without bombing the hell out of them, I'd be very happy.
What would you expect to see from the Iranians on that? I mean, they are masters at delay, but they also are in dire straits.
Yeah, I mean, the proof will be in the pudding if the Chinese are able to apply adequate pressure, which they've been reluctant to do. And I don't know how serious that pressure is or leverage they have over the regime in Tehran at the end of the day. It's important to note that Putin is in Beijing right now, and it'd be interesting if even more pressure is applied or what the conversation is between the two leaders there in Beijing. That might also be helpful to try to get the Iranians to at least begin serious concessions to end this war. The other part of this is perhaps, movement in the ending the war in Ukraine. But right now, all the eyes are on what these two might discuss concerning pressure on Tehran, if any.
Brent, great to have you back. Thank you, sir. Brent Sadler.
Cable television news and political commentary channel. Focus. It primarily covers breaking national and international news, business, and political analysis. Political Lean. The network is widely recognized for its conservative political commentary and editorial stance, which generally favors the U.S. Republican Party and conservative causes. Platforms. Beyond cable TV, they operate Fox Business, Fox Weather, a streaming service called Fox One, which includes Fox Nation, and Live Now from FOX, a raw, live feed news format without opinion commentary. What they are covering right now? Current top stories across Fox News networks include U.S.-Iran relations, heavy coverage on escalating tensions, including President Trump's recent warnings that the clock is ticking for Tehran regarding nuclear weapons, alongside reports on Iran handling internal military explosives while the U.S. paused scheduled strikes. Foreign policy and trade, reporting on the fallout from the recent U.S.-China summit, featuring interviews where President Trump discussed the logistical difficulties of defending Taiwan given its geographic distance from the U.S. Domestic politics, consistent tracking of 2024 to 2026 election cycles, political fundraising leads, and conservative perspectives on U.S. border and immigration policies.